What's up, guys? Keyshawn G here, back at you with another OT Universe What If, and this will be part 2 of What If Deku was a vampire slash werewolf. Now, if you haven't watched part 1, please watch part 1, but this will be part 2, and I will work on another video today. But I hope, guys, enjoy this video, and sorry that I haven't been uploading, every day. I just been doing a lot of stuff, but yeah, this will be part 2 of What If Deku was a vampire slash werewolf. Let's get to it. Now, pretty much, we start off with pretty much Deku in his house now. Pretty much laying in his bed. Well, laying in his bed, reading his book, until he, well, you could say his mom comes in his room and asks him a question if he's going to go to the entrance exam. Now, this is where Deku is pretty much is looking at his mom and saying, "Yeah, I am, mom." Which begins to smile and says, "Oh, so my big boy is going to try to become a hero. Well, if you're going to become a hero, at least let me give you your gift that I haven't given you on your birthday, that I said I was supposed to give you." And she gives him a wand. Now, this wand is unique wand for Deku. It's like a wizard wand, but you could say for him. Now, this one can perform dark magic, magic, light magic, all kinds of magic. Because Inko is, like I said in the first one, she does a little bit of voodoo and stuff, and also a werewolf. But she also taps into the forbidden magic and arts and stuff. Now, and you could say she's a scientist of both, of trying to make a hybrid slash magic werewolf, and she's trying to be the first of her kind to pretty much be of it. Now, this is where Deku is, smiling, saying, "Thank you, mom. I'll make sure to use it." Which she smiles and says, you better be." Now, she walks out and Deku begins to head out. Now, this is where Deku is holding the wand, and begins to use the wand and begins to use the wand and do magic training and stuff, you could say. Now, he's training in arts and stuff, but also he's practicing in his blood power of his father's side of vampire, of the blood noble, and also tapping into the werewolf power of his mother's side. And he's forming it together to kind of, you could say, form the power together. Now, he's transforming his arms and creating blood, sharpening his cars with the blood magic, or the blood noble power, to make, you could say, a form of powers and stuff and all that. But as Deku is training, this is where we're going to say in the 5 months. In the 5 months, he's pretty much, now just reading books and stuff, and also it's at the beach, just pure relaxing and stuff. Now, this is a different beach because this is not the same beach. This is a different beach where Deku and All Might is not meeting or heading out. This is a different beach. This is where he sensed something. You could say he sensed a disturbance. Now, I'm gonna just let everybody know right now. When Deku turns someone into a vampire, like Uraraka, they're pretty much, you could say, Link. So if Deku dies, it's kind of like, think of it like the Vampire Diaries, as if a higher up or original vampire pretty much dies, all the vampires that got turned by that vampire pretty much begins to die with that vampire. So they all end up dead. Now, pretty much, this is where Deku is pretty much sensing that something's happening. Now, this is where we switch to Uraraka. Uraraka, she, is doing her, we're going to say her doing her daily jog, getting prepared for the 10 months, and this is where a couple of vampire hunters comes in, or hunters comes in, and they're pretty much saying, and they you could say they're part of an organization, not from a, well, they are from a church, but not from, you know, a religion churches. They're just from a church, a different church. Now, and they pretty much work for the organization for the church suits. Now, they're pretty much saying, "Huh? Do you smell that?" And then we're gonna sit down and saying, "Yeah, I smell a vampire. I smell a vampire." Now they begins to walk very slowly, holding their suitcase and saying, and pretty much saying, "Excuse me, man, are you a vampire?" Which Uraraka, she says, what?" And this is where they pull out a weapon and slash at Uraraka's arm. Now they cut her, and she begins to fall and back away, screaming for help because she doesn't know what's going on. Now this is where Deku is coming in and pretty much appears and says, "What are y'all doing?" Now this is where they pretty much pull out their weapons and saying, "Huh, I sense y'all. I sense a noble. I guess you're a noble vampire." Which Deku is pretty much saying, "Please just leave her alone, and I walk. If y'all want me, I'll go with y'all." Now this is where he's pretty much, these hunters are pretty much saying, "Oh, no can do," and pulls out a weapon. They pull out their weapons from the suits. Now, from the briefcase. Now this is where they charge at Deku, and Deku pretty much touches one of the blades and breaks it. And pretty much someone's trying to use, we're gonna say a mace, a mace, and trying to swing at Deku. Now, as he's trying to swing at Deku, Deku pretty much grabs the mace and pretty much swings it back. Pretty much breaks the mace too, and pretty much sends them both flying. Now they both get up and saying, "I guess we have to go all out then." Which they look at each other and they nod, and they pretty much activate their transformations. Now, this is where Deku gets a little bit surprised that they have a transformation, and they pretty much activate their transformation into, you could say, a half breed of a werewolf, half human, half werewolf. You could say. Now this is where they're charging it. Charging at Deku, but this is where Deku backs up and pretty much forms wings. Well, pretty much begins to fly up. And this is where he has his wings, and he pretty much lifts up his finger. And when he lifts up his finger, this is where blood of spikes pierces through the hunters, and they're pretty much realizing that they got pierced. And this is where Deku forms up, uh, you could say a storm, and pretty much, a blood cube, and traps them both inside and pretty much crushes it until it's nothing. And this is where he lands back down. Now Uraraka pretty much doesn't know what's going on, and Deku looks and realizes that he's the brother bite. This is where he pretty much lands on one knee and pretty much says he's so sorry that he brought her into this, and he's sorry that he, turned her into a vampire, which she gets up and she begins to figure out what's going on now. Deku and Uraraka is at the beach, and Deku is explaining the situation of that he turned her into a vampire on accident. He thought he killed her on accident because he was really thirsty and he haven't went for blood for a while. He was, going against it, and he didn't want to ask his family, his mother, for blood or anything. Which, this is where Uraraka says it's okay, but she forgives him and stuff, and she begins to say, so she's a vampire now. Now, Deku is pretty much saying, well, since I made you, you could say a vampire, you're my underling, so I know when you're in trouble and stuff. That's why I came. And also, you could say you're the first I ever turned into a vampire. Which Uraraka kind of did a smile, kind of does a little chuckle and says, "So you telling me you're kind of like a virgin vampire, and I took your virginity?" Which Deku does a little blush and says, "You could say some, in a sort of kind of way." Now, Uraraka's laughing at Deku's, doing a little smile, and they begin to talk to each other. And now they begin to do, you could say training and stuff, because Deku is training Uraraka just in case if any hunters want to come at her and she can defend herself. Now Deku is teaching Uraraka the form form of mechanics of a vampire, what they can do and stuff. Like they can turn into mist and stuff, but they have to require a lot of, you could say, feeding of blood. Depends on of how depends on what power they want to get and stuff. And this is where Deku says, but there's one thing sure, you must always need blood, but don't feed on a lot of blood because you will be lustful for blood, and don't drink too little blood because you'll be want to have more blood, or you'll turn into a ghoul, or ragged ghoul, you could say, of a monster. I just turned people treasure, which Uraraka is, taking notes and listening and stuff. Now, Deku and Uraraka trains together, and Deku's trying to see if she can learn any magic or anything, which she learns one magic. You could say a couple magic tricks and stuff to move stuff around, but that's pretty much it. Now, this is where both of them, you could say, is sticking together, because Deku pretty much has a bad feeling of leaving her by herself, so he takes her to his house, and she's going to be living there until he can get her stronger so she can be on her own. Now, this is where Deku already talked to his mom and dad, and his mom and dad just completely smiling and saying they're proud of him that he has a vampire underling. Underling, and he's forming his own union of, you could say, of some sorts, which Deku's dad is really, really proud of him. Like, really proud of him. Of being a underling. Having a vampire underling. Now, this is where this is where Deku introduced. This is where Uraraka introduced herself to Deku's dad and mom, which they both is pretty much, smiling and hugging and pretty much saying, "Oh, I'm so glad that you're, Deku's first. You look nice and beautiful and quite sweet." Now, this is where, Inko makes a couple dirty jokes to Uraraka about, you do know, Deku might want to get a little thirsty and stuff. And this is where she makes a dirty joke and Uraraka begins to blush, which Deku says, "Enough, Mom." Now, Uraraka has her own room because the house is pretty big and they have a lot of rooms, which, Uraraka has her own room to be watch over. Now, this is where Deku is. It's his room. You could say head in his room and begins to read a book before he goes to sleep, or to stay up all night because, like I said, he's a vampire. Now, the next day, he gets dressed, and pretty much begins to head to the UA High with Uraraka, because you could say Uraraka is they're becoming a hero too. As Deku's walking, Uraraka and talking to her. Talking to her. This is where Uraraka asks Deku, "So, did you when you was telling me about not feeding or getting blood at all, did you one time kill someone or rip them to shreds?" Which Deku says, "No, I didn't do that. But I did when I was in the forest one time, going on a camping trip with my dad. I got lost. Little did I know I was hungry. And you could say a bear attacked me, and I ripped it to shreds and ate it whole," which Uraraka is saying is pretty much, gulping and saying, "So, was it because you needed blood?" Well, I have my mom and dad genetics of werewolf and vampire, so I needed both. So you could say I kind of did both, and I kind of needed both of the stuff and ate him and his blood. So which Uraraka says, "Oh, I see." Now, this is where they head there, and as they're going in, this is where they both take their seats. Now, as Deku is taking a seat, Uraraka sits next to him, and this is where Bakugo sees them talking to each other. Now, this this female Bakugo, she sits next to Deku and says, I haven't seen you already, Deku. Where have you been?" Which Deku pretty much saying, "Oh, I've been training Uraraka because she's my, you could say, servant." Now, this is where Bakugo, she has a dirty mind, so she's thinking servant, like into 16, and she's pretty much questioning, saying, "What kind of stuff?" Which Deku says, "Hmm, I can't really tell you that, but I don't want you to get hurt. But it's stuff." Now, this is where Buck goes. She's getting pissed and about to, yell until Edon tells them to, can they please keep quiet? Which Deku looks and says, and looks with the content eyes, and which Edon's doing a little sweat, and he says, "Sorry, my bad. We are sorry," and pretty much looks back forward. Now, for all the stuff, for the IQ thing, the intelligence thing, Deku reaching first because he's extremely intelligent, and if he gets blood from, you could say, things, he will, you could say, get smarter and stuff. So plus, and plus Deku, like I said, he did get blood from animals and stuff, and also from humans, but not killing them. So you could say he's a very intelligent, and plus he can understand animals, so he's calm with nature. So, so to speak. Now, as Deku doing the weight thing, he doesn't really show off his strength. He doesn't do it, so you could say he doesn't anticipate that. But sorry, let's continue. But this is where you could say the robot test happens. Now, as the teacher is explaining what they have to do stuff, this is where Deku is pretty much looking at the thing. I mean, pretty much, looking, and he's pretty much thinking about you could say a lot of things, as who was the hunters, like how did they have a werewolf transformation? Was they a part of another tribe, like a werewolf tribe or anything that would rogue from his mom? Because as Inko was, you could say, creating werewolves and stuff, and also as a scientist stuff. Um, she was telling her son that one of her, you could say, tribe tribe people, werewolf tribe people have, you could say, left the village. Well, you could say not left the village, you could say, but left the group, and pretty much went alone to do his own thing. So, Deku was thinking, could that be him, Uncle? Which he's thinking about Uncle because his uncle was the one who left the tribe and thing and did his own thing. So he's thinking about that. Now, this is where Deku is, as he's thinking, this is where the teacher is saying, "Is everybody ready? Get set, go!" And everybody begins to go to short robots. Now Deku is thinking. He says, "Oh, I forgot about this," and begins to head. Now he's not running. He's pretty much just taking his time. Now robots left or right. Deku is pretty much destroying them and stuff. And he's using the spell. We're gonna call it a spell. The summon golem. Now he's summoning you could say mini baby golems, because he's not gonna waste a lot of power, and he's destroying uh the baby golems are destroying robots left and right and stuff. As he's pretty much taking a seat, he creates a chair and sits down and begins to, you know, get moved around by the other golems. We're gonna say about a big golem, and it's pretty much carrying him on his back. Now, as Deku's pretty much just, taking or not resting and as, just thinking, this is where he thinks this is enough points as the mini golems or, destroying robots. And he hears a scream. And this is Uraka, and she gets herself stuck by the roll because we're gonna say she was getting a little cocky and destroying robots, but this is where one robot crashed down on her. She's pretty much trying to get out, but she realized she's badly injured. This is where Deku says, "Oh," and he pretty much says, "Oh boy," and begins to tell the golem to let him, land down. Now, as Deku's landing, this is where he sees a 0 point robot, and it's, coming in, and everybody's getting scared of stuff. Now, this is where Deku creates a spear, and this is a dark black blood spear, and he throws it at the robot. Now, as he throws it at the robot, we're gonna say he put a little bit of life magic, or not life magic, but wood magic in it, earth, and it begins to hit the robot in the middle, and it formed branches around it, pretty much making the robot stop in its track by, sending the vines and wood stuff and growing like a tree. Now, as the robot is stuck and stuff, all the users are looking impressed and stuff, including All Might, saying, "So he has it? Huh? I guess he has a quirk. It's some type of thing." Which they're all confused and trying to know what's this thing. This is where uh, the 0 point robot begins to start to crumble, and the machinery parts start to crumble off, and as the tree branch is still there, you could say life starts coming out, like birds and stuff and all that. And they're thinking like, can he create life with it too? Which Nick was saying, beautiful. It begins to help Uraka. Now, Uraka is pretty much saying thank you, Deku, which Deku was saying, "Are you alright?" Which she says, "No, I got injured," which Deku looks, and she's, you could say, hurt by the side. Now, this is where the birds that I was saying flying out the 0 point robot, broken body and stuff, and tree branches, begins to fly to Uraka and begins to heal her. You could say, pecking. You could say doing a little pecking. It at first it starts a little bit hurt, but as they're pecking, they're healing up the wound. Now, the birds begins to, you know, fly away and go back to the tree. As this is where the healer comes in and check if everything's alright, which Deku says it is alright. We be going now, and Deku pretty much pick Uraka up by her waist, and she pretty much is blushing, saying, "What are you doing?" Which Deku says, "Well, I'm taking you home," and they begin to head off. Now, this is where Bakugo sees, and she's, you could say, getting a little bit envious, you could say, of what their kind of relationship they're having. Now, as they're home, this is where this is where Uraka and Deku is talking to each other, and also at the dinner place, and they're eating food with Deku's dad and mom, Nico, and they're talking and stuff, and they're asking Deku, "What do you think? Do you think you passed?" Which Deku says, "I don't know, Mom, but I think I did." Which Uraka says, "Well, I think you did great. Mizuku, I think you actually reached in first." Which Deku begins to do. What's one says, "Thanks." Now, next day, Deku gets a acceptance letter saying he actually beats All Might score and pretty much creating a record. And also, he's, accepted in the thing. Now, this is where he reads the invitation. Also, sees the invitation that he's in class 1A. Also, Rocket. Now, I'm sorry if I'm messing up on the screen, but this is where Deku begins to head into school, and Rocket too. Now, Now this is where Deku is pretty much take a seat at work too, and Bakugo's fighting with Iran about her lifting her legs up on the desk, which just playing sorry how's it no, disrespecting the school thing. There you go. My bad. But yeah, this is where they pretty much have a fight about that, and that Deku was pretty much looking out the window, pretty much looking at the beautiful sky and all that. Now, of course, this is where you could say Bakugo begins to get up and about to ask Deku what is their relationship between Uraraka and them, until everybody else comes in and begins talking to each other and stuff. Now this is where Razorhead gets up and begins to begins to say, why is it so loud, and begin to look. Now this is where he sees you could say Deku out with red eyes. And Deku looks and says, good morning, teacher. Now, of course, Azar begins to say good morning back, and he begins to tell everybody to get their June uniform ready and stuff. They're going to head out and test if they're worthy to be in class 1A, which everybody agrees on. Because we're going to say this time Ida doesn't say that. This is a different Ida. Different universe, you could say. Also dark. Now, as everybody's getting dressed and stuff and all that, this is where they all head out and all this stuff. But before they head out, this is where Bakugo, she stops Uraraka and asks her what is their relationship between each other, which Uraraka begins to say, what do you mean? As is it love relationship, sex relationship? What is it? Which Uraraka begins to blush and say, oh no, nothing like that. You could say he saved me from almost getting killed. Which Bakugo is saying, save you from what? Which she pretty much says, well, we should probably get going. And which Bakugo says, yeah. This is where Bakugo is getting curious. So, what did Deku save her? What did Deku save her from? Now, everybody's out, and everything, you could say, goes as the same. But this time, Deku reaching first in all of them, except for the ball throw, because Uraraka in her gravity core. Now, everybody passes, no one fails, because I'm gonna need everybody in this you could say alternate universe. and pretty much they all head back into class. Now everybody's into class and stuff, and all happy and stuff. And this is where All Might comes in and say, I am here. And everybody's excited and say, oh my god, it's All Might and stuff. Except for Deku. Deku, of course, is, we're gonna say, sleeping. It's pretty much sleeping and peacefully sleep, which no one didn't wake him up. Which this is where All Might looks at Deku and sees, well, you could say, things, and says, so this is the kid who killed that such villain. Now this is part 2 of what if Deku was a vampire / werewolf. I hope y'all guys enjoy. I will work on the next video, next part, hopefully, if I got the time. But I'm Keyshawn Chia. Thanks for watching, and peace out.
Looks like you lost another one.